and gentlemen, welcome back to number 25 of the Whatnauts Reactor Corps. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you doing today?
I'm good. We're a whole quarter, and I think that's exciting number to be.
There you go. Keep the change, you filthy animals. Good stuff. Melissa, we are here to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 2. Are you excited? What are your are you? Because like you don't use Twitter as much, so
oftentimes I don't remember the last time I looked at it.
For shows like this, or when we do something on the review show, which is one of our other podcasts that you guys can get at thewhatnauts.com, or just by typing in the Whatnauts on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. But since you don't use Twitter all that much, I sometimes don't know where you are, like what your thoughts are on all of this stuff.
Yeah, I guess I am pretty much a mystery until I show up and talk to you on Friday night.
Sometimes you are, yeah. Like, who is this mysterious Melissa? What does she really think? You know?
I liked this episode. It gave me something I really wanted, and I think we made a lot of progress. We finally got the boys together. Good that they put that early in episode 2. We have to keep waiting for them to get together.
Yeah, we kind of got that right, because that's what we were talking about last week of like, it's probably going to be this thing that like drives them together. I don't know if they'll text each other first or something like that. We were like, it's probably going to be this. And yeah, Bucky just shows up and it's just like, we can't let this stand. Like, this is not happening.
It's unceremonious. It's kind of funny how little emphasis is put on. This is the first time these guys have seen each other in months.
In potentially years. Too, right?
Well, no, because they both came back through the Doctor Strange portals. They were both there. You know, they're at Tony's funeral.
Yeah, true. But yeah, he like gets off the plane and sees Bucky standing there and just pays him no mind and just walks right by him. And it's just like, all right, busy. This is going to be a day. But yeah. Episode 2, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I really enjoyed this. Like I mentioned last week, this show is right up my alley. It is a Kyle show. And it continues to be that. I am really excited because I think it's going places that I think will be very touching and will be very heartbreaking. But I'm also a little worried because there's only 6 episodes with this one. So we're 2 down, 4 more to go. We're almost halfway done with this show, meaning I don't know how deep they're going to get into all of this stuff. I don't know if it's really going to end up being what I'm really looking for or what I want. Of just like let's explore the racist stuff that the government did to try and bring back the super soldier program and stuff. And yeah, they might mention it and there might be some things here and there, but I don't know if they're really going to dive into that as much as I want them to, or as much as they should. But we shall see. 4 more left.
Yeah. Lot they have to accomplish. We haven't hit Sharon yet. Zemo's barely in it. Right. I want to see him go to Madripoor.
It seems like every episode is going to have some new character or not necessarily new, but some other character introduced, right? We got Isaiah Bradley, who I know we'll talk about in just a bit. He was introduced in this one. Next one seems like it's going to be Zemo. Zemo. One after that might be Sharon. After that might be the actual power broker, and then the final fight, right? Like I think that's 6.
All our
Like,
players are corrected or collected. Yes.
Yeah, it might be that, which is fine, but like that's what I'm worried about. That it's only going to be fine, and not like, oh, this is exactly like the next level that we needed from this show. But what do you think? Is that where your mind is on that?
I don't know. I think this has fewer the only thing we have to compare it to is WandaVision, and this has much fewer mystery hooks. Sure. And because of that, I feel like it has fewer things on its checklist to accomplish by the time it's over.
That makes sense.
They've set up simpler goals, and I trust their ability to accomplish those goals by the time it's over.
Yeah. I don't think there is some big like grandstanding mystery of I don't think who is the power broker is like, that's not going to be the big thing. There is still some mystery to that, but
yes,
I don't like, it's not as much of a driving force of this show, which is fine, and it makes sense, and I'm still fascinated by all of the stuff that they're exploring. And I think they're nailing it so far, but just like in the back of my mind, it's just that thing of like, I don't know. Maybe.
You gotta let go, Kyle. You just gotta fly and feel the air under your wings. Just enjoy being up there. Don't think about the landing yet.
Maybe I do. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I want to talk about the most interesting part of this episode to me. To get to Isaiah Bradley in a minute, because that is a very big advancement. But last week I was talking about how I wanted to know more about, is it John Walker is the new Captain America?
Yeah.
How I wanted to know more about him as a person, because it's clearly shady government dealings that have put this other guy in the Captain America role. But I said, I don't know who this man himself is. He may just be an innocent guy who's in the wrong place and has no context for what's going on. And we get to see him, and he is very self-conscious about being in this role. He's very nervous about it. He's very humble, and that seems genuine. Like when he's on that Good Morning America bit, and he's like, well, I don't know. And the lady's like, oh, don't be so humble. Let's take a look at your military record. It seems like he's not setting that up. He is just as unsure of himself as Sam was. And I'm trying to figure out how that connects to him later in the episode, where he is a little bit more full of himself. Like maybe he took a step too far in trying to be confident, and it came off as cocky. Like he's not doing it quite right. But I did appreciate seeing that this is something this guy also takes very seriously, and he's very concerned about. This means a lot. I have to do this right.
Yeah, I think you're right. He is a little bit unsure. I think that opening scene where he's in the locker room before he puts on the costume to to go out there and be like, hey, I'm the next Captain America. Wink. He's unsure of himself, but we don't know why yet is the thing. And again, I don't think it's going to be that big of a mystery, but I'm thinking he's unsure of himself for the wrong reasons. And it's also like those same reasons might be why he's so cocky when he's in the suit. And so like, hey, this is not Captain America. Like, you never even met Steve, dude. Like, you obviously don't know what he was like or what he really stood for. So he has this notion of like who he is and what he needs to be, and I think he's trying to live up to that. But I think in the end we will see that what he is trying to live up to is something that is not good. Because I think the thing that solidified it for me, which I know this show in the long run will make you feel sympathetic to him to an extent, but for the most part will be like, yeah, this is not Captain America. It needs to be Falcon. It needs to be that. But the line where he's in the plane with Bucky and Sam, and he does that thing where he like sits back after they say something, and he's just like kind of sarcastically being like, well, I kind of am the government.
Yeah,
that immediately was like, huge red flag. That is, Captain America would never. Because I think that's a preconceived notion that a lot of people have, that's what Captain America is, right? That he's just some stooge of the government.
Yeah.
That he is, I'm the United States government and military, and you need to do what I say. And that's absolutely not who he is. He's often seen fighting against the government, not only in the comics, but we see that here in the MCU, where he went against S.H.I.E.L.D. He went against the Sokovia Accords and stuff like that. And this guy doesn't seem like he would do that.
I don't think I don't think that he would either. I think he's interesting as a character.
The like, hoorah, like I'm the soldier. I'm the next Captain America. I'm number one man in the government.
I think it's interesting that he's only that in the second half of the episode. Like, we see him initially, he's not quite, on the right footing yet. And when he's nervous, he communicates that to people. He's very visibly nervous, and he's got that, it seems like his girlfriend, and then he's got his partner Hoskins, who's there talking to him. Like, there's people trying to reassure him because he's
him Battlestar or
Battlestar, yeah, which isn't a name I'm familiar with, but it sounds cool. He's communicating that he is unsure of himself. And I wonder if maybe like he's gotten some positive reassurance from people, close people in his life. And maybe he's gotten some negative reassurance from very shady people that are like, no, of course it's you. You're this and you're this. And they're talking him up, and like he's got like a wrong idea in his head. I don't want to act like he's, that none of that is from his, himself. I was saying that I don't want to cast this guy as a villain too early or a bad guy too early. He may be an ally who's just comes into the thing with the wrong head. And he seems like he's somebody that if Falcon and Bucky like really talk to him, they could put him in the right mindset. Like, he seems like he's got enough humility to become a true ally in the end.
Okay, that's fair. So they end up kind of running into Bucky and Sam while they're on a mission. They've been tracking them through Red Wing, the little like drone thing that Bucky has, which is why it was malfunctioning in #1. And they have a talk, and Sam and Bucky don't really take it well. They don't really know how to react or how to deal with the situation. And it kind of spills into their own relationship and their own friendship of like, well, I think we should just ignore it and move on. And Bucky's like, no, like you were the one that was supposed to do all of this. And it kind of culminates in Bucky being like, hey, Sam, I need to introduce you to someone. And so they go to this guy's house. We don't know who it is yet. And he's like, hey, is Isaiah home? And the guy's like, no, there's no one here by that name. But once they do finally get inside and they meet this guy, wow, we learn that there is another super soldier out there who they didn't say it explicitly in this one, but he was another Captain America. He was another super soldier, and he's a black guy. So to Sam, who never really felt like he had a mentor that really related to him exactly, that he could go to. I mean, you could say Rhodey, but they didn't really have that relationship. If he had known that Isaiah existed, Ooh, that would have changed things. Like, he at least would have had someone to talk to and get like advice from and something like that. What did you think of Isaiah Bradley?
I remember seeing videos where it was speculated he would show up, and I'm like, oh boy, there he is, like an episode and a half in. This isn't like some far-flung theory that we wait the whole season to see if it pays off. He's right there. Yeah, I'm interested to learn more about him and how he met Bucky in the Korean War. I lose the thread of Bucky's past all the time. I think in my head, I think he was just conked out from World War II to the Winter Soldier movie. I forget that he had moments of consciousness in between.
He had moments, but he was still on Hydra's side. So whenever he met Isaiah, they were fighting against one another, because I guess you could say Isaiah was technically S.H.I.E.L.D., but then S.H.I.E.L.D. was also technically Hydra. But Isaiah wasn't Hydra, so we do learn that they did fight once, and like you said, I think that was in the Korean War. And last they met, he ripped off like half of Bucky's metal arm, which is kind of wild. So they have some bad blood, but Bucky, as we know, is trying to atone. But their presence in his house, Isaiah Bradley really does not like it. He
doesn't want anything to do with that.
So Isaiah Bradley, like I said, he's like I guess you could say the second Captain America. Like after Steve, after they thought he died in World War II, they tried to continue the super soldier serum, and they experimented on a bunch of African American people, and he was one of the only ones that survived, if not the only one. And because he was Black, he didn't get the same shine and respect and all of that stuff. And like he mentions in the show, he was eventually put in jail for it for 30 years, which is wild. And we don't know when he was in jail exactly. If that was like, you got put in jail in the 50s, or he got put in jail in the 60s or 70s. Who knows? But he was in
there's
jail
a young man in the house who you can... presume is his grandson, so he had a child in between at some point, but we don't know when that was. I don't think we have enough information to figure out a timeline.
Not on his son and grandson exactly. However, his grandson is important to note, because in the comics, his grandson is Patriot, who is a member of the Young Avengers, along with Wiccan, who we saw in WandaVision, along with Cassie Lang, who we've seen in the MCU, along with Kate Bishop, who we know is getting her own show. So it really, really seems like they might be pushing for a Young Avengers movie down the road, or some show or something, like some team up with them, because we've now seen multiple characters that are the Young Avengers. So we don't know much about him in this show, if he has powers or if he will get powers. We don't know. He just has this very minimal role in there, but it is at least important to note that. The final thing that I want to note about Isaiah Bradley and his grandson Eli is that the program that he went into to get his super soldier serum and all that stuff is what became known as the Weapons Plus program. So this is an
pay $6.99
a
month to subscribe to Weapons Plus.
Oh, sure, right? Yeah, you can do it that way. This is interesting to note. I don't know if they're really going to do much with this, but this is something to just keep in the back of your mind here.
Okay.
Melissa, I'm sure you know who Weapon X is. That's
Yes.
Wolverine. Wolverine
Yes.
comes from the same weapons program that Isaiah Bradley did. So did Phantom X and all that stuff. A whole bunch of characters that I don't know. They didn't mention that in this one, but in the comics, that's the history there. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah. And then last but not least, we know that at the end of episode 2, Falcon and the Winter Soldier are like, hey, we need to find more information on this whole program and stuff like that. The only one still alive who would have all that information is Zemo. Thoughts on Zemo and what's happening there, Melissa?
I'm interested to see him come back. I forget everything about him except that he was upset that his family died. And then he was put in a glass tube.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm interested to be reminded of all of his connections and how he can serve the story. And I'm interested to see how he feels now, 5+ years later. Whether he was blipped or not, we don't know. He wasn't conscious for 5+ years.
I mean, if he was in jail and got blipped, and he would have come back in the same spot, so he would have just been like, damn it. Like,
right, yeah, unless they remodeled it. He's still in his weird glass tube.
Some guy turns around, how'd you get in my bunk?
So, now room for 3, we can't move you yet. This is your new roommate, Baron.
Do you have a theory about what they're gonna do with him, or you're just waiting?
I don't know. I think my main theory is that just the fact that nobody's heard of Isaiah Bradley. It seems like it's just chance that Bucky met him that one time, and he's such a major part of the history of superhumans in this world. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think that sets a decent precedent for introducing things like the X-Men or the Fantastic Four. And we don't know how any of these are going to be introduced, but if they want to have some superhero group that has existed and has been secret, we've already got it in the world now. Like, nobody knew about Isaiah Bradley for decades and decades, and he's as strong as anybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. I think they're either going to break him out, or he's going to have some like secondary backup code word to activate Bucky, and that's going to cause some chaos at the thing, and he'll escape in that. But it could also be the because they have to get to Madripoor somehow. We know that that's coming down the road, so maybe he's going to be their man in the chair, so to speak, of just like, hey, I can help you get there, but you have to help me first, right? So who knows? We'll see with that. My theory, though, this is my theory of what may happen down the road. Not with Zemo, but just final thoughts of like, maybe this is where the show is going. I think when the show started, it brings up this question of like, what or who is Steve Rogers' legacy? What is the legacy of Captain America? And going into the show, we kind of think, oh, well, the next one who's going to be Cap is Sam, right? That's what we think. We know that Bucky mentioned he never told Steve about Isaiah.
Oh.
And so I'm wondering if that question of what is Captain America's legacy is almost shifting to what if his legacy was never his to give? Like, what if instead of Isaiah being the second Captain America, what if he was the first? What if he was one of the test subjects to like do all of this stuff? And so they tested it out and was like, okay, good, it works, but you're an African American. Like that would suck, right? So what if Because we also know that Steve spent most of his life in an alternate reality. What if he did meet Isaiah Bradley, and he does know about him, and and that is why he gave the shield to Falcon and was like, "You need to be the one." Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be an interesting twist.
Yeah, certainly could
so to
be.
speak, or at least a way to look at this whole thing. So
yeah, I think that's neat.
That would be fun.
As we're closing up here, I just want to come back to one thing I was trying to articulate when talking about John Walker, which is that he is unsure of himself in taking on this role, and he visibly displays this, and he gets reassurance from people around him. Some element of this might be some ego stroking. He seems like he can have a big head. We have seen that. It's possible some of this help was from shady people who are trying to shove him into the spotlight and to mold him into being this hero that they want him to be, and they maybe reassured him in the wrong ways. But the point is that he got help. Sam has been unsure about this thing and hasn't really displayed that to anybody. Like, it's very clear to us, the audience, but except for that one line that he says to Steve, like, this feels like it isn't mine, when he's holding the shield. This isn't something it seems like he's talked about that much, maybe a little bit with Rhodey saying like, yeah, this is Steve's, it's his legacy. I want to honor him. And, just it should be in a museum. This is how the world should remember Captain America. So I'll go to this exhibit and pay our $12 and go see Steve's shield and think about how great Steve was. And I'll go do Falcon things. Like he's, for as questionable as John Walker is, we've seen that he has a skill that Bucky and Sam don't really have, which is that he is open when he has a personal problem. And I think that's something they could pick up on, but we don't know John Walker's entire story, and maybe opening himself up to somebody, as much as he got reassurance, maybe somebody threatening, was able to get in there and influence him the wrong way. So this could be helpful, and it could be a cautionary tale.
Absolutely. Well, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities.
You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. We are at the Whatnauts if you guys want to stay up to date with all of our shows. We will be back next week for our reactions on episode 3. Be excited about all of that. If you are on Twitch with us here right now, twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. Stick around. We have the captain's log right after this. However, if you are just here for the Reactor Corps, thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.